We play and call it work.
Hi there. Welcome to another Sit and Talk with me, Chris. For the next Sit and Talk, it will be Steve. So for any questions and responses, leave them down below for @Steve, of course, if it's for him. And of course, if it's a response to what I've said today, then of course, leave it @Chris. But otherwise, I think we all know the drill by now. And so let's just dive right into the questions, as it were. First one is from Deadly Dave 3. Chris, you are obviously a dedicated painter. I am very proud of the paint jobs I've done, but sometimes I look back and wonder how I had to motivation to work so hard doing those paint jobs. I often find myself doing for months, avoiding the commitment of sitting down to paint. Do you ever struggle with burnout or painter's block, and what kind of strategies do you use to overcome it? I've been asked this one many times before, and I'll answer it many more times to come. For painter's block, like the first thing I often advise for a lot of people who are feeling kind of stressed out, and because first of all, this is supposed to be a hobby, right? So if you're not having fun with your hobby, then go do something else. Take care of whatever it is that's, weighing on your shoulders. If it's real life, it's commitments, it's, what have you, whatever. Deal with those. Then come back and worry about this stuff, right? Because this stuff is very, very minimal on our priorities list, right? I mean, real life, family, things, bills, what have you, schooling, all those things take priority over this stuff. So if you got that kind of stuff hanging over your head, then go deal with that, right? The next thing is, of course, oftentimes we end up buying more than we can paint, we can keep up with, because either we're playing or we just, there was a deal, or, just brand new models, and we're really excited to try those things out. And so we end up with a lot of projects on our desk. Well, the first thing I recommend is clearing your desk of needless projects. You know what I mean? Like if you've got 100 Space Marines to do, don't have the 100 Space Marines in front of you. Have 10, 5. 5 is my limit. I mean, I'd only have 5 in front of me because that's all I can take. I mean, if I saw 100 in front of me and I was trying to paint 5 of them, it would be just one of those things. I would just go insane and crazy and go postal and shoot up the joint kind of thing, right? So that's number 2 as far as dealing with painter's burnout. And of course, challenging yourself with your paint jobs. Try new techniques. Try out different kind of paints. Try out paints in combinations that you never tried before. And of course, again, it's inspiration sometimes. And sometimes where we find the inspiration is can come from anywhere, really. Oftentimes, color scheme from nature, animal color scheme will inspire something, from a movie, commercial, the way the color scheme, the way the colors looked on the particular movie, things of that nature really are key to keeping those things at bay. But first and foremost, deal with the other problems. Painting, this hobby is second. Don't have all your projects in front of you, and challenge yourself. Challenge yourself with other things. And it's a similar thing I deal with all the time, as every day I'm painting and I'm painting and I'm painting. And I'm asked, how do you paint white for the 10th time? And it's like, well, I've shown how to do it a few times before, and I've tried to show different ways of doing it before. And so I'll continue to try and show different ways of doing it. And that's what keeps it at bay, because it's thinking of new ways to do things. And it's just challenge yourself. Just keep challenging yourself. Just keep swimming. Next question is Miso. Terrible with names. Anyway, Chris, have you done a diorama or other big miniatures project? Could you do one so we can see all the work that goes into it? It would be interesting to see all the planning that went into it and all the custom building went one. Not sure if this is your thing, but have a think about it. Have a think about it. I like that. But have a think about it. Just a think. So just think about once or twice. Have I done dioramas? I've done dioramas when I was younger. You know, like little battle scenes. I'd make little battle scenes, you know, with my Space Marines and Gene Stealers and, you know, orcs and what have you, right? It's, you know, just like little custom things on pretty much just like on a single base kind of thing, or like on a, just like on a small little, you know, just a small little base, and I would just have these little dioramas set up. I don't have them anymore because I think I would like repurpose the models because I like, oh, I need that guy in my army, and so I pull him off that and put it back into my army kind of thing. But otherwise, no, for me to do a diorama and film it for MiniWarGaming would require a great deal of time and effort and money, and so it's not something that I'm likely to jump onto at any time soon, because a diorama, to do it well, to do like if I was going to aim to do it for something like you know, like Crystal Brush or any kind of painting competition, or you know, anything like that, yeah, it's going to take a large amount of time, as any diorama will. I mean, yeah, you can make a simple one and, you know, do simple things, but I think really what the question is asking is what would I do, and I have some ideas for what I would do for dioramas, but they're kind of things that are on the back of my brain that I probably will never ever get to. I probably will never get to them, and yeah, like showing all the custom builds and, you know, do like just what I would do to do a diorama. Yeah, it would be fascinating. I mean, you know, it's not really in the fashion of quick tips. You know what I mean? It would be a full-on series, and the return on them would not be as great as what we can do with quick tips. Quick tips is just a more efficient use of my time, rather than doing, even when I do quick tips and I'm doing like a beginning to end kind of stuff, that ends up using too much of my time. Like when somebody asks to see ultramarine color scheme and want to see like the whole ultramarine done, that takes me longer to do than I can do a regular kind of quick tip on. And even those kind of quick tips are not efficient. They're just not efficient to do, you know, especially when I'm showing a great deal of what I'm doing. You know, I mean, if I did it really short style where I show a couple things and I just say, well, here's where I'm going to paint highlights, here's where I'm going to paint highlights, and then jump to the next step, you know, it wouldn't be the same. It'd be like Games Workshop's videos, you know what I mean? And that's not what I do. I do something different. I try and show people what is going on, what is the process going on there, and so yeah, that's the big difference there. Next is Spine Chaos. Spine Chaos, yeah. Kris, I love the content you put out. I've been taking a lot of tips from you, man. You've taken a lot of tips from me, man. You've probably been asked this before, but what was the first mini you painted? Was it love at first coat? I mean, did you know you love to paint these awesome models right away, or did it take a while? Well, I started off building model cars and model ships and planes in World War II. I used to love building my World War II stuff, Spitfire measurements. You know, I'm a bit of a history buff, and I also really started getting into sci-fi, and, you know, I love movies. I love sci-fi genre. I love movies. I mean, I grew up on Star Wars and Indiana Jones and, you know, Star Trek, and grew up on all that stuff. And, you know, when I was around the time when I started building more sci-fi stuff, I was building a lot of the Star Trek model ships, and I love those. And, you know, I just liked the aspect of assembling these little things, and then painting the little details, and then putting on the little transfers and stickers and decals and, you know, what have you. And it really started from there. And then, of course, I had visited my cousin. Well, I wasn't visiting. We moved to Quebec at the time, and my cousins were playing Warhammer 40K, and I was like, wow, what is that? That's amazing. Of course, they'd always kick me out of the room. But that's fine, because I was just a little squirt, and they were like 15, 16 at the time. And so they were playing Warhammer 40K, and I was like, wow, look at this table that had ruined buildings. It looked like this war zone. It looked like Terminator 2 is what it looked like. It looked like Terminator 2. And I was really, really excited by it. I was like, wow, what is that? I have to know more. So whenever they went to school, and if I was home, or, you know, just whenever I had the opportunity, I'd sneak into my cousin's room, and I'd see that table, and I'd be, wow, look at this guy's. I wouldn't touch anything, of course, because I wouldn't want them to know that I snuck in there. But yeah, I'd be, well, what is all that, And then of course Aliens comes about, and I really loved Aliens. And then I had seen Space Hulk, and that's pretty much when I got into wargaming. Was once it was Space Hulk. Space Hulk was the gateway drug for me. It got me into wargaming, and yeah. But I mean, I was already doing models and stuff like that beforehand, and I just loved it. I have an art background, and I paint and draw and sketch on canvases and stuff like that. And I mean, it was just a really fun way of killing time when you're a youngster, and of course keeps you out of trouble as well. So I definitely would recommend it, because I mean, like, you could spend $200 on a model kit, or you could spend $400 on a little baggie or something, and what do you got to show for at the end of that little baggie, rather than this $200 model kit? You know what I mean? Like, do the math. You should encourage everybody to get into this kind of hobby. Everybody should be encouraging their kids to do this kind of stuff, because it's better than the alternative. It's better. It's way better than the alternative. And I mean, I hate to think about what I would have turned out like if I would have, not enjoyed this hobby as much as I do. So, yeah. Scrolling through the comments. What is this? The Union. The Uninvisible Man. The Uninvisible Man? The Uninvisible Man. Kris, what is your opinion on the design of the Primaris Marines? I am finding them quite easy to paint and apply transfers, but I was wondering what you made of them. What I made them? I love them. The scale of Primaris Marines is just too darn cool. I can't grab it yet, it's behind something, but I did a while back, as some of the Vault members might remember, I had done a true scale Marine, or an art scale Marine. And that's essentially what the scale of a Primaris Marine is. It's art scale or true scale, So he's bigger than an Imperial Guard now, right? Because before, a Space Marine and an Imperial Guard guy, I mean, they were about the same size, but now a Primaris Marine, he's a good deal taller than an Imperial Guard. And as long as they don't change the scale of Imperial Guard, which I don't really see them doing, but they may change some of that up. Who knows? Because again, if anybody's been listening to me ramble on for a while, knows that I know that, the scale is creeping upwards. The scales are changing. Nurgle Marines. Those are regular old Nurgle Marines, but they're a lot bigger than the other guys, where they're not Primaris Nurgle Marines, they're just Nurgle Marines, which means that regular Chaos guys, the scale is changing. I mean, good, because I mean, I like the idea of like those big Primaris Marines. I like how the changes in the armor are fairly subtle, yet are very noticeable, and it is it's a whole new armor, right? It's Mark 10, and it's a brand new set. I like how the mouthpiece is a curvature. It's a slope on the head sides here. They got the extended collar like the Mark, what was it, Mark 8? Yeah, it was like the Mark 8. It's got the extended collar coming up from the chest plate, and all round, I like the Primaris Marines. I like the look of the Aggressors, the Inceptors. Inceptors are probably one of my favorite. The jump guys, yeah, they're just cool. I love the fact that their jump packs now have like little flaps, for steering, right? I mean, it makes sense now, right? That they would have like little flaps, like, right? And so it makes complete sense that they would have that, and I like that. And of course, it looks cool because they got like the landing pads on their feet. They got extra thrusters, it looks like, on their boots. And of course, their guns just look crazy, right? I mean, with the big shields. And I like how the new bolters, how they have like that handle on the front, like it's a front guard for the gun. Kind of like how the, the Scorpion submachine gun, it has that front grill to protect that short little barrel on it. At least that's what I assume it's for. I have no idea. I'm not a master gunsmith or gun enthusiast. I mean, I know a little bit about guns, but I know how to use them. But I mean, I'm not a gun nut. Josh is a gun nut, and maybe just a regular old nut. But anyway, Primaris Marines, I like them. I'm a big fan of them. My only gripe about Primaris Marines and about the new kits is the fact that they're not multi-pose, that they're mono-pose. A lot of them are mono-pose. Okay, sure, one guy can move his one arm, this and that way. I mean, okay, lots of customization there, and and the why they're doing these monoposes, I believe it's because it deters recasters, people copying their sprues and their designs and stuff like that. And sure, okay, they got to protect their IP. Sure, I get that. But can't we just find a middle ground? Can't we find a middle ground in there somewhere where you can protect your IP, but I can have multi-pose so that I can pose the Marine any which way I want, or even do conversions with them? Like, can we all just get along? Where are we? Anubis 45. Hi, Chris. That very large Eldar army you've got, what craft world are they, and have you used them in a battle report? Also, are you going to add Triumvirate of You Need to them? Of You Need. You need? You need, or I need? You need? That army there, I mean, you can tell right there, because that's the craft world symbol right there, and that craft world is Samhan. Samhan, or Samhan? Samhan, Samhan, whatever your bend is, I don't know. I've heard it pronounced many different ways. I like Samhan better. Samhan just kind of rolls off the tongue better than Samhan. Samhan. You know what I mean? You kind of say it from the corner of your mouth. Samhan. Whereas Samhan. Anyway. Yeah, so that's what my craft world is. It's still a work in progress. I've been collecting this army since 97. That was when it was around 97 when I got back into Eldar. I had played Eldar in Rogue Trader and got rid of the models and, started doing Space Marines. And then second edition rolled around, was into Chaos, built up a huge Chaos force with Orc allies and stuff like that, and played Orcs in Chaos. And then third edition rolls around, Tau come out, and then I was also doing some Tyranids as well. And so I was playing Tau and Tyranids. And then I got rid of all that, and by around 97, I was like, I'm just collecting just Eldar. Enough of this. Just Eldar. Go. Go. You know what I mean? And so that's it. I've just dedicated, and of course, so I have some of the bigger Forge World stuff from Forge World and the bigger kits for Apocalypse games. And the last battle report, I think, on MiniWarGaming that I did with these guys, was a while back. I know I had a game against Dan a long time ago when Dan was still here. I thought we had filmed this game for MiniWarGaming, and John was hosting it. I was pretty sure we had filmed it. But anyway, and I've also played a lot of my Eldar against MiniWarGamer Steve on his channel as well. So if you really need to see me playing the game that I love, then and of course I've been playing. I've been getting lots of games in because I've also been doing the tournament scene, local tournament scene around here as well. As I do enjoy competitive play as well. I love to paint, and I love to play. I like to see myself as daily. It swings between gamer and painter, and it's back and forth, and it's yeah. It's usually between the two. But the one thing I'm not, or I wouldn't consider myself too heavy in, is like converting and sculpting and things of that nature. I only do it on a need by need basis. I only do that stuff. If I don't see a need for it, I don't do it. You know what I mean? I'm not really bent on having every single model be different. I'm okay with everybody kind of standing in the same kind of pose. Because for me, I mean, in my line of thing, it's like stormtroopers in Star Wars, you know what I mean, or Clone Wars, right? Where they're all standing together, they're all marching, you know what I mean, and it all looks, like a unified army to me. Whereas if everybody's all different, then it's chaos, it's bedlam, it's it's disorder, and I mean, you can argue, sure, when they're on the battlefield, it's all chaos and disorder and blah blah blah. Sure, yeah, that works too, but I don't feel it's entirely necessary, and but I have a friend back home, and he's bent on every miniature has to be different in his army. Okay, do it. Takes more time. I mean, his army's not painted. I mean, my army looks way more painted than his, but he's got like bazillions of armies. But anyway, it's another story. But yeah, I'm going to add Triumvirate of You Need. Well, if I need to, I've got the studio models here. I have played with the Vizark in a small game, and I don't know. I mean, like wraiths with your need, it works really well because wraiths don't lose anything by going to your need. And so basically, if you're going to play Eldar or Dark Eldar, and if you want to dabble in some the living undead god you need, you know, look for units that don't lose that core ability. You know, they either don't lose the pleasure from pain or rising crescendo or battle focus. Look for those guys who are not going to lose that ability and gain, you know, the Soulstorm ability. Is that Soulstorm? I can't remember. But anyway, I've only played with it a little bit. I don't know. I'm not, you know, swayed by it or anything. I mean, battle focus is still better in my opinion. Battle focus, yeah, battle focus is still better in my opinion. The ability to advance and shoot, getting that extra D6 distance closer to the enemy, especially because a lot of Eldar army weapons are shorter range, especially for just the regular troops. You know, shuriken catapults, man, 12-inch range, that's really not that far, you know, and so it helps kind of, you know, if you can move 6, 7 and go a D6, that helps a lot, you know. So definitely, I mean, like, you know, give it a shot. I mean, like, you know, if you like your need, if you like the idea of it all, I mean, you know, go for it, right? But for me, no. I mean, I'm Sam Han. I like to play jet bike heavy, although lately I've been playing a lot of Wraith stuff right there. Like I got my Wraith Knight, I got Wraith Guard, and I've been running a siege formation where basically it's 3 Wraith Knights with an HQ, and I've been kind of liking that. And of course, I took it for a tournament where I took it was the siege formation, yeah, siege formation, and is that what it is? No, it's not. Vanguard is the HQ or elite. Outrider is the fast. Yeah, siege I think it is called. But anyway, I took the Avatar, 3 Wraith Lords, and like a Lynx, and that was my army for I think 1,000 points. But you know, just giving it a try, you know. Where are we? Waylander 11. Hey Chris, couple questions. Gearing up for my NID army and build a swarm box last weekend, realizing I need to paint 90 gaunts. I'm planning on borrowing a friend's airbrush and wondering if you have any tips. Also, can you airbrush shades? 2, what is your favorite beer? I'm an Aussie, so please don't say none or VB. What's VB? I don't know what VB is. Anyway, airbrushing NIDs. Can you airbrush the shades? Yes, you can airbrush the shades, but they don't flow quite as nicely through the airbrush. They actually go on fairly uniform. You end up just kind of like tinting the surface, and so then it's counterintuitive, but you end up having to lay a lot down on the surface for it to pool up and gather. So, with that in mind, do you really want to go that route? Not likely. Unless, of course, you're going to control it, where your direction and where you're laying that shades on, you know. But otherwise, you know, yeah, laying the shades on by airbrush is, you know, it's not going to really do the desired effect. Oftentimes, if you want to get them done really, really quick, it's the dip method, right? Dip them all in, dip, and then give them a quick little snap just to shake the excess off and allow the residual to dry. Army Painter sells the dips. Basically, it's a urethane stain almost, essentially, and you just dip it and you go. Of course, or you can just do it, or just lay the shade wash on by hand, by brush. Just grab a larger brush and just hit the entire model, and just, you know, pick up some of the excess shade wash so you're not letting it pool up and do anything funny to the model, and then just let it set it aside to dry. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, like, really, when you're airbrushing a bunch of models and you want to have that shade, usually I apply that shade, if I'm doing an airbrush, I usually apply that shade like after I've done like some highlighting on the model. So for example, I will lay the darkest color that I want. So say if I'm doing like a red, I'll lay like a black or a dark brown or even a dark red, and then I'll build it up, the highlights, and I'll do it kind of zenithal, because with the airbrush it's really easy to do with the zenithal highlight. But even like Tyranids, gaunts, you just got to spray them at an angle and you'll catch those ends of those plates like that, right? So you know, you should be fine in that regards. But otherwise, yeah, so when you lay your shade colors, your base colors, which are darker, you start building some highlights up. You already have your varying tones in there, And then all you're looking to do with the shade wash is pick out those details and create a little bit of line separation and stuff like that, right? So that's all you're really looking to do. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not like the normal sense in which we paint miniatures where we lay the base coat down, then we shade the model, and then begin highlighting. You can do it differently when you're doing it by airbrush. You can build it by darker colors, build up to the highlights, and then give it a shade wash just to pick those details out and create a bit of separation between points. Typically, if that's the route you want to go. I mean, that's the easier way. And I mean, in that regards, like for example, if I was doing a bunch of gaunts and I was airbrushing them, and I had built the highlights up, and then I was going to apply the shade wash, I would apply the shade wash with a larger brush and apply it just to that skin area, so I can pick out those little ribbed areas on arms and stuff like that, pick out the separation points, and then create that darker line from the carapace to the flesh points, create that, pick out the face, you know what I mean, and then be done with it, you know what I mean? So yeah, there are many ways to do it, yeah, but doing it by airbrush, I mean, you can do it, but it's not going to give you the same results as if you had applied it by brush or by the dip method, right? What is my favorite beer? Right now, currently, I've been drinking a lot of Coronas, but otherwise, I enjoy Moosehead. Moosehead's another good one. It's a good Canadian beer. And Jack Reddy. Jack Reddy 5.5 is another good one. That's a nice, good, hearty beer. And of course, sometimes I like a good Guinness. Sometimes when I'm hungry, I enjoy a good Guinness. But otherwise, it's usually a lot of lagers. I enjoy a lot of lagers. Anyway, Draws 1973. Kris, I was watching your video on doing Space Wolf runes and was wondering how important using flow aid is. Could you just use Lamain medium? Yes, you could just use Lamain medium. That would break down the color and to thin it out, but it would not have that capillary kind of creeping action that shade washes do. We all love the shade washes because when we apply it to the surface and it creeps into the recesses, right? That's because of this, the surface tension of the paint is different from normal paint or the shade wash or the ink or whatever we're using. And so when I use Liquitex Flow Aid, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm adding to that. I'm adding that quality to that mixture so that it's going to creep into the recesses and do that. Lamain medium will not add that quality to a thinned out mixture. It'll just continue to add like a paint, and it's just basically going to thin it out visually, right? So, yeah, so there will be a quick tip coming out soon enough on the difference between the two. I have already filmed it. It's already in the system, and so yeah, so I've already done a video and kind of gone over the differences really between the two, because the question was asked that, what are the major differences? And I quickly demoed between the two and, show the differences visually and between, using various colors, metallics and opaques and shade washes, and you know what I mean? So yeah, a video will be coming out soon enough, probably next week. I think it will be probably next week. So yeah. Where are we at here? I think we are out of time here on that. So join me for Sit and Volt, where basically I'll continue to answer more questions that you have asked. And of course, remember that in response to anything I've said today, have it at Kris in the comments below. And of course, Steve is going to be the next Sit and Talk. So if you want to ask Steve any questions, have them at Steve in the comments below, and he will get to them for the next exciting episode of Sit and Talks. And so now I'm going to jump over for the Vault members for an extra longer version. No, it's not going to be longer. It might be even shorter. I have no idea. It all depends on the questions again. But anyway, I'm out of time here, so happy wargaming. We'll see you guys later.